So the next one is not too much to talk about because this guy, George Astaroth, was supposed to assassinate the vice president at Kirkwood House, which is pretty much a motel back then. That's what they called them. And so Astaroth walks into the motel and is getting really nervous because he's gonna have to assassinate the vice president. Big deal for him. So instead of actually going to kill him, he ends up getting drunk and leaves. And the thing was that he had the easiest job out of them all. All he really had to do was go up, knock on the door, say, Mr. Johnson, I have something for you, and just stab him or shoot him. He honestly had the easiest one of them all, but instead he ended up getting drunk and leaving. And then the biggest one was obviously assassination on President Lincoln by John Wilkes Booth. That was the major component of it. Booth had a strong distaste for him ever since he was elected. Funny fact, he was in a play called The Marble Heart in 1863, 10 days before the Gettysburg Address, and Lincoln was actually there. He actually went and saw this play, and afterwards he said, Lincoln wanted to go talk to him. He said, he's a great actor. I want to, shake his hand. And unfortunately, I can't say the words that he used, but they're strongly distasteful of Lincoln wanting to meet Booth. Booth was very, I don't want to see you. I don't want nothing to do with you. Which is weird because, two years later, he'd be the one killing him. He didn't see it coming. That night, he was going to attend Our American Cousin. Laura Keene was the main actor that night. I think it was like Hawk or something. Yeah, Harry Hawk. He was the other actor. They knew John Wilkes Booth very well, along with the people that were there. But Booth got tipped off to this earlier in the day when he found out that Lincoln was going to be at the play that night. Coincidentally, General Grant was supposed to be there as well, but he had to take a train ride, I think to Virginia or something, to do something militarily. So General Grant was supposed to be there as well. But anyways, he walks through, he creeps up, and no one says anything to him because, it's John Wilkes Booth. I mean, everyone knows him. He's just a good guy. So, he's walking around, very optimistic, not careless, but, he's very calm. And he walks up and then he looks through the people that he had put in a couple days before. You'll see that in the Conspirator. And then he comes in, puts a wedge in the door so no one can get in or out. Which is, if you look at it, not a good move by him because really when he shot him, he could have just left right away and not made it so dramatic. But anyways, he went and that's a 4-seater. He went and went through the box. He saw 4 characters sitting there at the time. It was Mary Todd Lincoln, Major Henry Rathbone, and then his date. And he didn't expect the other 2 to be there. He only expected Mary Todd and Abraham. So when he gets there, he sees him and he pulls out his Derringer, 44 caliber, and boom, shoots him right in the back of the head. The bullet goes through his head into behind his right eye. He has he's not dead, but he's pretty much dead. He's brain dead, pretty much. And so after that, he goes and slices Major Rathbone, thinking that he's going to make an issue with him. And he jumps over the balcony, 12 feet. 12 feet is pretty high. I mean, I don't know about you, but that hurt big time. And anyways, he breaks his leg on the fall, and which would really cost him later in the escape. So, breaks his leg, stands up, says, 6 separate tyrannies, the South is avenged. That is thus always the tyrants, explaining why he doesn't like Lincoln. He thinks Lincoln's a tyrant. Does everyone know what a tyrant is? Oppressive, authoritarian person. So this is a drawing fairly after this is kind of what it looks like. Of course, the Conspirator does a lot better job explaining it. So as he leaves, he goes out the back entrance, jumps on his horse, and starts heading towards Surratt's Tavern, where he will pick up 2 Spencer carbines. He heads there. From what I've read, Mary Surratt knew that they were coming. She claims that she didn't, but so they pick him up and they get some alcohol because Booth's foot leg is really broken. He broke through the tibia and fibia. Second and third hardest bones to break in your body, besides the femur. And then he heads to Dr. Mudd's house. Dr. Mudd is a Confederate doctor at the time. He knows who Booth and Harold are, because Harold had talked to him prior to this. And so as they get there, Booth is like in agony, saying my leg hurts, and Harold's like we gotta get this guy fixed. So what happens is he fixes his leg, puts it in a splint, not knowing really what had happened. And so he leaves there. This is very minuscule. He stays in the woods because he knows that there's Union soldiers right over here. And the weird thing is that when he was there, he slept. There's like a river and there's a bank, and he slept right here. And the Union soldiers would walk no more than 100 feet away from him. So, and he ended up having to kill his horses because, very sad. He had to kill his horses because they made too much noise, and he needed meat for the ride. And then, again, little minuscule, he sleeps here for a night, and then he ends up at Garrett's farm. This is where he would end up dying 12 days later, after the assassination. What would happen is he'd get there. Not many know that when he got there, he started talking to the Garretts. It was supper. The kids, were playing, and then after supper, they ended up talking about, what had happened to Lincoln, and none of them knew that the guy who killed Lincoln was sitting right in front of them. They were like, I can't believe this guy did this, and Booth is just sitting there like, oh man, if only they knew. So this is it's a really, terrible picture of it, but this is Garrett's farm, where Booth would die right up here on the porch after being shot. So once the Union soldiers got a tip that he was there, they started asking people, where is he at? And they found out that he was in the barn with Harold. Harold's over here leaving. That's Booth. And what happens is that the Union soldiers go and start burning the house or the barn, thinking that Booth will either come out or kill himself. One of the two. So he's Union soldiers kind of have him. Harold ends up leaving the barn, surrendering himself. Booth is really astonished. He can't believe it. And then this guy, Boston Corbett, he ends up putting his rifle through the hole and shooting him. Booth didn't kill him instantly. He died. He died the next morning. But a little bit about this guy. He was a soldier, a Union soldier, but he had some very psychological problems. Later on in his life, he was instituted in a medical hospital because I think it was 1870, 75. He ended up cutting off his genitals. He's a weird guy. So, to think that this guy killed Booth is kind of weird, right? So,
Don't so bad about killing her.
So, the aftermath is these 4 guys were eventually captured and arrested, along with O'Laughlin, Arnold, and Mudd. Arnold and Mudd would be O'Laughlin and Mudd would be pardoned by Johnson, and then O'Laughlin would be. Anyways, O'Laughlin would be spend the rest of his life in prison. So you got Mary Surratt, Lewis Powell, George Astrott, and David Harold. They're all sentenced to hang. This is the actual picture. This obviously isn't, but this is the actual picture of them being hung. They were hung on July 7th at 1:26, which you guys see in the conspirator as well. the good thing, it wasn't a good thing, but the interesting thing about this is that Mary Stroud was the first woman to ever be executed by the U.S. government. Very interesting, since we have all these, protecting rights and just didn't care back then. Lewis Powell and George Astaroth did not die right away. Typically what happens when you get hung is when the door drops, your spinal cord is separated and you die right away. Unfortunately for Powell and Astaroth, they died of asphyxiation, which is suffocating. They did not kill him right away. They ended up strangling. Interesting fact. So the conspiracies of this whole thing are pretty much. There's a little bit about did Booth actually die there? And I know that's a huge one. They actually just did some DNA testing about a year ago to prove that it actually was Booth that died in the barn. But some people think that he went off to Texas or Oklahoma under an assumed name. From the evidence I've read, that's not true. There's also some funny ones, about like the Pope wanting Booth to kill Lincoln. That one's pretty funny. I mean, it makes no sense. Someone just probably BS that one. There was another one about it was about him escaping to like Canada or something, and it was completely messed up. But obviously he died at the coroner's office. They have to do a full check of see who it really is, and Booth had a tattoo that JWB on his left hand, which his sister Asia Booth could recognize. So then they declared that it was him. So now we're going to watch The Conspirator, the scene.
Yeah, that one scene. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Surround you with it.
Yep.
Okay. And Matt, his book is full of all kinds of like little details that go way more into everything that he talked about. So after we watch the little video clip, we're gonna have a drawing. Matt brought a book for each period, so one of you guys will win it. And you might want to get him to sign it because you might decide that teaching isn't profitable, and he'll go on to become a famous author. And then someday you will have a book with his signature in it. You just don't know.